Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Barr Run Forge. I'm Troy, and we've got another video for you today. We're going to do a spatula, and the spatula we're going to do is in hopes of matching up with this set here. We made the spoon in another video and the roasting fork in another video. The hope is to add the spoon, the roasting fork, the spatula, and a steak turner to all of our set. So hopefully we'll be able to match this up as a set, and then obviously we'll make our normal biblical connection to making the spatula. Spend a little time together talking about that. I have a couple things to share with you. I've got a little bit of exciting news, little changes around. I got a camera right back there. We're going to try it out today, so we got a couple different shots. Just really want to keep trying to improve the videos that we put out for you. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that works out. The other thing I wanted to share with you is a whole lot of fun. My buddy, I'm going to call him my buddy. We've never actually met. This is one of the things I love about the blacksmithing community, is it is a community, and we've shared a lot of stuff. So my buddy, Dana Maggiore, Dana, I'm sorry if I messed that up. He does stickers. He's the sticker man. If you need stickers made up, he's the guy. So get a hold of Dana. If you want to know how to do that, get a hold of me, and I'll have him get a hold of you. So Dana made me some stickers. How about that? Thank you so much, Dana. They are fantastic. I love them. And in the process, I get to add them to a bit of a collection that I have. I got one from Roy up at Christ-Centered Ironworks. It's the year of the anvil. I won in the giveaway a square punch. So in the process, he sent me a sticker. And Dana sent me some of his stickers. So this is one designed by Evan at Oddwood Forge. Great job, Evan. Way to go, buddy. You got some skills. And, of course, the other one, there's Dana. And so I get to put these up. We're going to put them back here on the bulletin board. So we'll pin those back up there. And so here's the deal. If you like the videos, or you just want to trade, if you want some Barr Run Forge stickers, let me know. I'll trade you some stickers, or I'll send you some stickers. If you want to connect with some of these other guys, they're out there on the community. It should be fairly easy to get a hold of. If you can't get a hold of them, let me know. I'll find a way to get with you. But let's just kind of fill our own little walls, our own spaces with our stickers. A great way to connect with the community. So I'm looking forward to that. So we're going to put those up here in just a second. And the other thing we're going to do is get the old coal fire forge going and make us a spatula. Now, I've never done this before, and I've got a couple ideas as to how to do it. So hang with me. We'll learn together. Here we go. One quick note. You guys know, if you've watched any of the videos, the coal forge blower is pretty loud. So what we'll do today is turn this microphone setup off. We'll probably hear a little bit of background. I'll let you hear the anvil ring a little bit, and I'll speak over the top of the video when we're through editing. So here we go. I begin by folding the flat stock in half. Bending it over to create more mass. I'm going to do a forge weld. Flattening the piece out. Getting ready to put it in the forge for a forge weld. Begin the forge weld by quick taps, not heavy blows, and just continue the forge welding process. Once the heat gets below forge welding temperature, it doesn't do a whole lot of good to keep pounding away at it. So back in the forge, back out for the forge welding.
brushing it out to check to see if there are any cracks, any areas that didn't get welded, and then just begin refining. Just behind the forge welded piece, we begin to go to the edge of the anvil, the far side, and start setting that mass off by itself. Achieve this by doing full face blows at the edge of the anvil. Bring it to the horn of the anvil. So that the intersection between the two is not sharp, to try to prevent any cold shuts or stress risers. And just continue to flatten, refine, trying to keep everything straight. Making comparison to the spoon. Try to make sure we get the correct width. We're trying to make a close to matching set. So we just continue to work the sides and the transition points. And then we'll begin to draw it out. Flatten, straighten, constantly checking, and making a comparison to the spoon. Begin the drawing out process of the handle of the spatula. I have a pretty decent idea at this point how wide it needs to be. We started with 3/16 by 1.5 inches. And I really don't at this point mind if the material gets thicker. I don't mind the handle being more substantial, so I'm not actually drawing it out in both directions, just in the one plane. Continue to flatten and straighten to try to prevent any folds. I make a mark on the anvil to tell me exactly where this transition should begin, and that's based upon the spoon. And so once it gets to a certain width, then the taper works back toward where the ring will be. And using the mark on the anvil to indicate that reverse taper. And just working it down to a point in which it matches up to the spoon, both in length and in width. In working the sides and the edges, making comparisons to the spoon. And then the final mark we made on the anvil was to indicate where the hook will go. Again, based upon the spoon. So we made that measurement, we made another mark on the anvil, and we'll begin to work our way down to that particular width. And then we'll set down a piece so that we can draw it out, make the hook. checking by the measurement, and checking the width with the hook rule. Just a little bit more to taper down, and just keep checking. After making that final measurement with width and tapering down, we make a mark, and then we set down the portion that's going to be the hook. Again, trying to keep it flat. Continue to set that down. Now, unlike what we did with the front of the spatula, we're using half face blows to set down the material for the hook. Flattening and straightening. Moving over the hardy cut, we find the length that we think we like for what will make the hook, cut it off, and then bring it back over the anvil and draw it out to a taper. And as we all know, by this time, the taper goes from square. We taper it out square to where we want, and then we work it to the octagon and to the round, and we'll see that here. Continue working down the taper. It's not a super fine point that we get on this taper, but enough to thin down so we can make a curly Q on it, and then turn it up for a hook. Kind of difficult to work the one part of the taper to the edge of the anvil where we normally do, so because of the length of it, but we work towards the edge as best we can, working that taper down, taking off the corners, working to octagon. Back in the fire we go. And Now we'll start the rounding up. Work those final edges down. Work the point. Begin working it to round. Working from a thicker point on the round simply because the heat dissipates. It does dissipate towards the front, but I don't want to smash the front, so I begin at the thicker end and work my way down. Again, not really trying to move material, just trying to smooth up those edges. So at a darker heat really doesn't matter a whole lot. Light blows, rotating the material constantly. Just working out those facets and hammer marks and edges. Give it a good wire brush to try to clean off any scale. And then we, off the edge of the anvil, work the curly Q, the pigtail. Moving the hand up and down, just lightly tapping across it, not really hammering on it if we can help it. Checking it out, straightening it out. And then we'll work the rounded portion back so that the hook is centered. I did quench the tip of the curly Q, so I'm actually using it to bring the hook around. And again, this is a matter of just working it till you like the shape of it. If it doesn't come out perfectly round, then that's okay. It's your design. Whatever you're comfortable with. Just making some refinements to the hook. Just trying to tuck the curly Q in just a little bit. And do that offset just a little bit more so that we can center it up. Just making those fine adjustments until we like it. And then we begin flattening out that mass on the spatula. And I begin with the cross peen on the hammer, working from the middle out. And I realize that I have got to ease the edge on the peen of my hammer. It was gouging in pretty heavy. So unfortunately I moved to the flat of the hammer, and then I went over and got a bigger hammer and did a little bit of peening with it, but also I just began working from the middle out, working the material to the edge. And we can see the shape of the spatula coming into play. working the part closest to me at this point, and then working towards the front, or the edge, leading edge of the spatula. Just trying to do some straightening, some flattening. And just continue to work the mass out, away from the center. And again, this is first spatula I've ever made, so just trying to keep an eye on the thickness of the material was a little bit more difficult for me. So I spent some time just constantly checking, and I probably could have gotten it thinner, but I was just trying to make sure that I didn't just split it in half and thin it down too much. And again, just working that mass into a position where we're comfortable with. Working towards the leading edge or the front edge. Move back to the smaller hammer in the face of the hammer just to have a little bit more control. And at some point in time, I'm sure you realize that's too long for a spatula, and we're going to remedy that here in just a minute. Just trying to do a little straightening. Square it up a little bit. And we're getting pretty comfortable with the thickness of the spatula and the width. So this is just a matter of cleanup and just trying to square things up. Easy place to get a fold for sure. Certainly plenty of time in this video for working on the blade of the spatula. But again, my first time doing this, so just spent plenty of time on it. Maybe you didn't need to see all of it, but I did do the recording. So we take it over to the hardy cut, just find the length that we think is right, and just begin to cut it off. And actually this works out pretty good because it gives me a nice clean edge to work with. And I've already got it to the thickness that I like. Now some of you are wondering when I cut it there with the hardy cut that I cut all the way through. Well, a lot of times what I will do, and I know this is not for everybody, a lot of times what I will do is make those last little blows off the edge so that the material that I'm cutting off goes straight down to the table, and I do it away from me. And I really don't run into any problem where a piece shoots across the room or anything. I'm not using that kind of blow that will make it do that. So then I began working the edge, and I'm actually trying to put a little bit of a bevel on the edge. And it probably didn't have to do that. I'm going to do some filing and some cleanup on it. Now certainly this spatula is not wide enough to be doing a bunch of pancakes or anything like that, but it's wide enough to flip a burger or a piece of chicken, or flip over some bacon or whatever in a pan or on a grill. And then I'm doing some contour close to the blade of the spatula, back on the handle next to the ring, and trying to make a fairly close comparison to the other pieces in the set, including the spoon. So I'll begin checking it side by side, trying to see if I've got the bending in a similar arc and height. And once I'm satisfied with it, we'll set the spoon aside and do some finish work. Once I get to that point, I simply take it over to the vise, and you don't need to see me over at the vise doing any filing or cleanup work or putting the finish on it. We did do beeswax as a finish. And just final adjustments. I did put a slight bend in the blade of the spatula. Kind of curl it back up. Making some final adjustments, squaring it up. Did some of that in the vise as well prior to doing the filing. Then I put it back in the forge, heat it up just enough to get the beeswax to melt. If you noticed or not, wearing a different colored shirt, not wearing a hat. The camera that I had intended on recording all of this with, for some reason had a problem with the SD card, so all the footage that we planned on using from that camera just flat out didn't show up, so we used the other cameras that we have, so we still got a video, obviously, you're watching here at the end. But anyway, I'm still happy with the camera. I think it does just a fine job. And we finished the spatula. So here it is. There it is. That's the spatula. And we can put it with our fork and our spoon that we made prior and see that we have another part of the set. Another part of the set of the fork, the spoon, and the spatula. No, they're not identical, but I like the looks of them for this particular set. We finished it off with beeswax. That seems to be a good usable, food-safe finish. So we finished with that, and we'll put that with the rest of the set. This is our personal set. This is me just getting started on this. So that just goes with our personal set we're going to be using around the campfire. And I'm glad to be able to do it. But as you figured out, if you've watched any of our videos by now, it's not just the spatula I want to talk to you about. Yeah, well, there are certain things that we did related to blacksmithing to make this happen. And I walked you through all those in the video. But there's something that we do with spatulas. You know, you get your spatula out, you're taking it to the grill or out to the campfire, you're flipping a burger or a piece of chicken or something like that. And there's two basic options you have with the spatula. Scoop it, flip it, and then you can either pull that out, put that onto a plate or another container where this will all go, or somebody walks up, you got a burger on the spatula, you put it on their bun or their bread and serve it up to them. So we have those two options, those two things that we can do with the spatula. And today I want to talk to you about how we can serve or what we can do with our particular tool. So we go to Luke chapter 4, verse 8. And it says, Jesus replied, the scriptures say, you must worship the Lord, and then in big bold letters, and serve Him only. So a few things that I want to throw at you there. First of all, it's Jesus replied. Jesus replies. Jesus responded to actually a group of people, the teachers of the law, as they're referred to as, trying to basically trick him into saying something he shouldn't say, and most of it had to do with the Sabbath. And he replies. He doesn't reply with, well, here's what I think, and here's my thoughts on the matter. He replies with, the Scriptures say. I don't have to give you my opinion on it. That's Jesus replying. That's me replying. And he says the Scriptures say, you must worship the Lord. You must worship God. So let's talk about that. Worship. Literally the word defined, or roughly defined, is to give worth. That's what worship means. Man, what a big question. How do we worship? How do we give worth to God? I mean, try to put it into words. Okay, here's how I can value God. Here's how I can give value, give worth to God. It's kind of an impossible task. So we do our best. We do what we can. And here's the other part. Here's how we can. Serve Him only. Wait a minute. So the only thing I can do is serve God? Well, it seems kind of selfish on His part. Yeah, well, it is. He's God. He created it all, and it all belongs to Him anyway, so we serve Him only. But here's the thing. We can serve Him only. We can serve Him by serving each other. We can actually serve God by serving others. The Scripture also tells us that that is our spiritual act of worship. See, the worshiping and the serving go hand in hand. They're together. They're part of a set. They go together. Worshiping God and serving others is worship. It's giving God praise. It's offering up to Him what an amazing thing it is to be able to serve each other and to serve God. So it's really not more complicated than that. We can make up other ways of trying to fulfill our lives and trying to do things, but really, in all honesty, this is how we get it done. We must worship the Lord. We've got to set Him apart as a priority in our lives, to be number one, and then to serve Him only. And that comes by serving others, bringing the message of Christ, the message of God, to others, to serve them, to do things for them. Give them a burger. I mean, you're already cooking on the grill, right? You're already doing it. Why not serve others in the process? Why not offer them this whatever you've cooked up? And in this case, Jesus said the same thing. I can offer you all kinds of stuff, but one thing you got to do, you got to worship and serve God. So again, I'm just thrilled to be able to offer you not only just a chance to get together and blacksmith, and I'm glad to do that. I love blacksmithing. It's one of my favorite things to do in the whole world. But the other thing that I love to be able to offer to you is the Word of God and how it applies to our lives. It's a great opportunity for me, and I want to use this channel for that. So here's a couple other things right at the end. And before I go any further, I want to just encourage you, if you would, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, smash the like button, like the smush button, as Yamez would say. And then hit that reminder bell so that you can see when more Barr Run Forge videos come up. So you can see back on the back, as we talked about earlier, there's some of those stickers. Again, if you want to trade some stickers or you need some stickers, we'll swap them out. I'd love to do that. And you can see the scripture back there. The other thing that I want to tell you about is our news that we're hoping to do live stream. I want to do some live streaming. And I've got a piece of equipment. Part of it came today. Some of it should be here. The rest of it should be here next week. So maybe even by the next weekend or so, we may be able to do a live stream. And I'd love to be able to do that. The problem we have is the house, 75 yards or more away from the barn, from the shop where we're at, and the Wi-Fi signal just doesn't reach 75 yards away from the house. So we're having to try to find a way to get Wi-Fi internet out here at the shop. That's two really cool things for me. It gives me access to internet Allows me to do some other things back here, but also to have the opportunity to live stream. I just love the fact that we get together as a community and chat with each other and connect with each other. It's a great process that we can engage in, and it allows you, the viewer, to engage in it as well. Again, just so excited. Man, I love the opportunity. It's such a cool thing to be able to come to you this way and share my love of blacksmithing and my love of God in this way. We'll have another video out real soon. I'm looking forward to another video actually where we just spend a little bit of time together. At some point in time, I want to tell you my story. I want to tell you about some of the things that God has done for me and my journey to blacksmithing. And in that process, we get to share and relate to each other in that way. Thank you so much for coming by. Again, subscribe, like, and hit the reminder bell. God bless you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.